Good morning, beloved. Peace be with you. So remember, here we're in the gospel, and remember, as we've said a couple times last week, especially when we're reading through the scriptures and we find a therefore, then that means we know we're getting to the main point. Therefore, based on everything I just said, here's the final point. And so we just want to jump right there for the sake of time. And Jesus says, you repeat it, therefore, whoever breaks one of the least of these commandments and teaches others to do so will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. Whoever obeys and teaches these commandments will be called greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So here we have a connection between obedience and teaching, disobedience and also teaching. We know we don't just teach by our words, but we teach by our life example. Whether we're mean to or not, we're teaching something by the way we live our life. You especially know that, parents. You know, your kids are watching, and they pick up whatever you're doing, and pretty soon they do something, and you say, "Where'd you learn that from?" "Oh wait, I did that yesterday." So we teach by our example is really the primary way that we teach, because we know that saying, actions speak louder than words. So our life example is the main way we're teaching. If we're obeying God and His commandments, then we're automatically teaching others to obey as well. But if we're disobeying, then we're automatically teaching people to disobey as well. So it's not just with words. This falls right in line. We want to try at times when we can to connect with other teachings. So this falls right in line with one of Jesus' other teachings, right here. So catch the words here. Whoever breaks one of these least commandments and teaches others to do so will be called least in the kingdom of heaven. But whoever obeys and teaches these commandments will be called greatest in the kingdom of heaven. So we remember Jesus also taught his disciples in another place how to be the greatest. Remember, he pulled his disciples off to the side, and he said, "Now the world, if they're in charge of you, they lord it over you. But it shall not be so among you." He said, rather, if you want to be the greatest, whoever wants to be the greatest among you has to be the least and the servant of all. So here we see the greatest in the kingdom of heaven is the one who obeys and teaches these commandments. So we can tie right in the greatest in the kingdom of heaven is the one who is the least and the servant of all. So if we're obeying, we're also serving. Obedience and servant. You can interplay those words. And we know this, you know. You say, "Honey, could you give me a glass of water?" "Sure, I'll get you a glass of water." And what are you doing? You're serving them a glass of water. So obedience, yes, I will do that for you. Obedience and service, same thing. Now we know with our kids, we don't want them to obey and to serve merely out of obligation or fear of punishment. We kind of start there when they're really young, but we hope that we will be able to get them to mature and obey and serve because they love. I obey you, Mom. I obey you, Dad, because I love you. Not because I'm afraid of timeout or a spanking or getting grounded, but because I love you. "Honey, would you give me a glass of water?" "I would love to get you a glass of water. I love to serve you." You know? So we have obedience, service, and love. They're all interchangeable. And so we can if we put those in here, as we're seeing a fuller explanation, we see whoever obeys and teaches others to obey will be called the greatest. Whoever obeys and whoever teaches those to obey. Whoever serves and whoever is teaching others to serve. Whoever loves and is teaching others to love will be called greatest in the kingdom of heaven. And that we can ask the question. Ask God, "God, how well am I obeying you? How well am I serving you? Am I serving you well? How well am I loving you? Am I loving you well? Ask your spouse that one, Am I loving you well, honey? Am I serving you well, honey? And then with the gospel today, it's not enough that we simply ask that question and drop right there. God, how well am I obeying you, serving you, and loving you? But how well, God, how well am I teaching others to obey you? How well am I teaching others to serve you? How well am I teaching others to love you? This is one of the quotes we have from St. Vincent de Paul on the bulletin, on the website, right on the front. He says, it's not enough that I alone love God. That is not enough. It's not enough that I alone love God if one of my neighbors doesn't. I must love God and teach my neighbor to love God too. God is that worthy of love. That I alone is not enough if one of my neighbors is not loving him too. I've got to reach out and teach my neighbor how to love too. And so that falls right along in line with this teaching. So we can even tie it to Lent. How well are my Lenten practices helping me, empowering me to obey, serve, and love God, and to teach others how to obey, serve, and love God?